Hello, everyone. We're live. Hope you survived the All-Star weekend. Everything. Mike has some opinions on it. We'll get into later. But we're going to have we have a special guest joining us today, so lots of stuff going on. So, I guess maybe we should just start right in. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's go right on here. We can start up.
No editing needed.
No editing needed. We got a lot going on today. 30 days have September, April, June, and November. All the rest 31. Anyway, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's Monday, January 30th, 2017.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology. Guess I should wear my shirt higher.
Like it. And I'm Eklund. You're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every Monday through Friday. And if you listen to this, you'll have to watch it to see what's on Russ's shirt. But we are a little hint. We're going to be joined today by Dan Prackner.
Shackner.
I practice this. Dan Shackner. Great guy who is the referee for the Puppy Bowl, which means that this is the first show that my children will actually watch of ours. It's the first time because they love the Puppy Bowl way more than they love hockey, and so they will really be interested.
I thought you were going to say way more than they love you.
Way more than they love me. I stopped. I went for hockey. I think they're okay with me in general, but yeah, I'm going to go with hockey on that one. Okay. So anyway,
kids will like me better because I set this up.
I know Russ set this up because Russ and his wife do a whole lot of work with animal shelters and stuff like that. So this is a subject that's near and dear to our heart. So we're going to talk to Dan when he comes on for just a few minutes, but before that, we're going to talk to Mike about the All-Star game. I thought actually, okay, so I wanted, in full disclosure, I had a bunch of things going yesterday, family stuff. So I didn't watch the All-Star game till I started at 11 o'clock at night. Okay, so I would put it on after a long day, watch by myself, and I was at the All-Star game last year in Nashville. I liked the All-Star game last year in Nashville. I thought it was. I think this is, as far as All-Star game formats go, this is probably as good as it's going to get. You know,
that says volume, Zach. That really does.
It does. But then I do think the necessity for All-Star games as a part of our tradition in sports is okay. I think it's all right. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world.
Okay.
So I'll just tell you that I enjoyed watching the play. I thought the last game was pretty intense. I thought the first game was horrible, but and the Pacific Division just rolled. Crawford having a rough day. But you got to see some personalities that I liked in this whole, and even in the skills competition too. I thought there was some good stuff this year. So now, Mike, we'll give you the counterpoint to that.
Well, okay. The best part of the weekend was the top 100, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow because I had some, I think 95% of that list was deserving, and but I think there were maybe 5 or 6 names that are questionable, and I could find 5 or 6 guys who they left off who I thought belonged in. So we'll do that tomorrow. But I thought that was a great presentation. The way they did it, by decade was interesting. I could have done away with some of the, the star introductions, like Keanu Reeves going, he was a little over the top.
That's Hollywood, right? We knew that.
But it was a good presentation, and it was a representation of the history of the game, and I'm a sucker for history. After that, it went downhill. The skills competition I thought was okay, but the controversy over the skating, Russ and I talked about that. Dylan Larkin beating Mike Gartner's record, but he had a running start last year, and did Connor McDavid beat? I don't care. I really don't care. It doesn't matter. I mean,
here's the funny thing. Just so we break that part down, Mike Gartner was 36 years old at the time. Nobody was mentioning that.
Right.
That's a pretty significant thing. If you want to just hand everything to Connor McDavid, he's not going to feel very comfortable with you doing that. But that's what the media is trying to do with him.
Yes.
Let's just ease up and let it break slowly. And you know what? He looked good, but at the end of the day, he wasn't the fastest. Who cares about the start? That's just the way it is.
And this is how desperate that they were to make this skills competition a competition and something meaningful. A commentator said something to the effect of, Well, Austin Matthews had 4 shots on 5 attempts in 12 seconds. And when Sidney Crosby saw that, he basically got his dander up, and, it just showed us the competitive nature of Sidney Crosby. No, do you think he really cared that much about it? No, he just went out and did what he did every day.
I'm not so sure I agree with you on that one, Mike.
Okay.
I don't think these guys would kill each other over a ping pong game. They would. I mean, this is something about professional athletes.
I understand what you're saying with that, and I agree with you. I think they would try harder for ping pong than they would for this.
Yes, they might, but no. I mean, listen. This is Tavares. It's an embarrassing thing to go out there and not be able to hit these targets. Okay, this is an event of all the events that they hate the most. I've talked to them about it, and they hate this event. And this is because it has a huge embarrassment factor on it. Because you can get in a rhythm or out of a rhythm.
Yes, but
out of a rhythm, you're an NHL player who can't hit a target, and everyone says my 12-year-old son can hit those targets, and there's a lot of pressure on these guys. I think you saw it with Laine. You saw there's pressure on these guys to really. I mean, Matthews was so unbelievably calm and cool under pressure. He was phenomenal, and as you'd expect him to be. But that shows all the more about Matthews to me, because this is not an easy thing.
I know the Laine part was part of the downfall for me of the All-Star weekend, because he took his shot, and Shea Weber is basically like, that's all you got, kid. And he didn't even give it his best shot to beat him, but he knew he could beat him easily.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to the embarrassment part of it, because Nathan McKinnon took a lot of stuff from his teammates when he didn't break 90 on his shot, and everybody was razzing him. But I don't think that Sidney Crosby is going to lose sleep because he lost the shooting competition to Austin Matthews. I mean, and then we get to the game, and the game was absolutely dreadful. And this is the thing, and I said this to Russ this morning, is the fact that when you're looking at a 5-on-5 and players are going half speed, it looks a little busier because there's more players on the ice and there's back and forth. When it's 3-on-3 and they're going half speed and they're consciously not trying to check or do anything physical, it looks like a bunch of 60-year-olds playing shinny. And that's what it was. You had Austin Matthews scored his 1 goal standing in front of the net for literally 5 seconds, holding on, and then flipping a wrist shot past the goaltender. And all the 2-on-0s and 2-on-1s were like that.
Tipping. Am I going to get excited? Even the Crosby to Ovechkin, everybody made a big deal. There was no contest there. It was the easiest pass Crosby ever made in his life.
Part of the fun of the dynamics is watching how Crosby and Ovechkin can't play together at all. They were horrible together. I mean, and for the most part, there was a total uncomfortableness with them together, and that was, to me, I don't know. Listen,
I would rather have it 5-on-5, because I felt like 3-on-3 just looked bad, because you could see how the guys were going half speed. It was so obvious.
The most interesting moment of the last 2 days of the All-Star break was Chris Pronger running Justin Bieber.
Right.
That was it. That was really it.
That was the one thing that went viral. That is the truth.
Yeah.
Now, Russ, bring up what you brought up to me, because I have a problem with that as well.
Can you be a little vaguer?
The presentation at the end.
Oh, yeah. Here's the thing. And last year, I know they gave the check to John Scott, the $1 million big check, and that's fine. I didn't like it with the winning team there with Gretzky in the picture for the $1 million check.
Yeah.
I just don't like the way it
looked.
I
think the money, I agree with you on that 100%. I thought the Simmons thing was great. His comments, this is one of the best days of his life. He loved it. I mean, that was great, because knowing Wayne Simmons, I know that was legitimate. From him, that was sincere. And he did play well, and he did look great.
Simmons did what he does. You expect that.
Yeah. What's next? Them dumping $1 million on a table like they do in the World Series of Poker, and that's how minor league.
Yeah. I don't think a big check is. I think it's very gauche and really kind of.
You can mention it when you do it, and I think that's sufficient.
Everybody knows it, and the players themselves look awkward skating over to it. It's like there was definitely. I agree with that. That I didn't see any purpose for, but. You got to put these things into context. I mean, you got to.
I'm back.
Here's the context. I think they could do a better job.
Yeah, and I understand. No matter how much I complain, and no matter how much many other people complain about the All-Star game being a dud, it's never going away, because it's for the advertisers. It's for the investors. It's for for the board of governors to get together. It's for the PHWA to get together. It's a
also for the kids, man. It's not just about money.
I don't want it to go away. It is
I've
about
been to these things, and kids love this game.
They do, but they're not seeing the game.
Right.
That's the
They don't
problem.
care. They understand that. These kids, even kids who play Pee Wee hockey, they know the difference between this and a regular game.
You want to know something? Every year when I attend that NHLPA rookie event, when they get trading cards made, the showcase, the game of shinny that the guys have is more exciting than the All-Star game, and they have more guys on the ice than they're supposed to, and it's better.
Well, let me say this, because right now it's up in the air. They don't know if there is going to be an All-Star game next year, obviously because of the Olympic decision.
Yeah.
And
there'll be an All-Star game. There's no
right. But I'm saying, you know what? Honestly, have your 5-day bye week when the All-Star break is there. And
Right.
don't have an All-Star game and have your 5-day bye week. Have your board of governors meeting. Have have an outdoor game. Do something like that as the centerpiece. I think Anthony said that on our show on Friday. Yeah, do that, because a lot of things are better than this turkey.
All right. Well, look, I
love the presentation at the beginning. I love the guys being able to high-five their legends. All of that was great. I'm saying they need to take it back and they need to rework it again, because I can't tell you how many people I heard today. Normally, we would come out of this and no one would mention the All-Star game in the regular media. Instead, what I was hearing around Philly in the regular media was it was bad.
Yeah.
So it's better to not get mentioned than just people to just outright saying, I didn't watch more than a minute of it because it was bad.
I haven't talked to regular media people. I've been talking to teams, of course, looking for rumors and stuff like that. So I didn't get that. I didn't get the same impression from talking to teams that they thought it was all that terrible.
Well, teams might not. You have to go outside the circle and just ask people. And look, I'm a hockey addict, and I turned it off after a while.
Right. I mean,
listen.
Tuukka Rask had as bad a performance as Corey Crawford did.
I'll be right back, guys. Let me mute this for a second.
No problem.
Tuukka Rask had as bad a performance as Corey Crawford did in the first game, and after I'd say half of the Atlantic versus the Central, or the Atlantic versus the Metro, I turned it off and then turned it back later on just to see the end of it. But yeah, it's just, I get it's not for me. Like I said, it's like my idea of an All-Star game is, I think it was 81 at Joe Louis Arena with Gordie Howe in his last one, and Wayne Gretzky and like that's an All-Star game for me, because at that point I was still interested in seeing those players all on the same ice at the same time. But the center ice package and seeing all these players all the time sort of takes the romance out of it. And I don't think that's unique for kids as well. They watch games on center ice. They watch it on multiple platforms. So it's not that big of a deal to see Jeff Carter or Patrick Laine anymore if you're from the East. You get a chance to see them all the time.
Yeah, I just think, like I said, it needs to be reworked. I think it can be reworked. I just, actually the draft was better than the way they do it now. At least the draft did show off their personalities, and there was a great drama to that. I thought the draft was fantastic, to be honest, compared to this. I just think there's a better way to do it. Yeah.
I don't profess to have a solution. Like I said, my solution is to just blow it up and not do it. But that they're not going to do that.
No. I would love to see an outdoor game. That's fine. I mean, if they want to, if you want to just scrap the skills and all that and just put the $1 million into an outdoor game, I think you would see something better.
Yeah, I mean, there is talk about.
I've always said that.
Yeah, there's talk about an outdoor game in Florida. How about you do an outdoor game in Florida next January 31st or whatever day, that in-between week between the NFC AFC Championship game and the Super Bowl, when the All-Star game it normally is, and just do that. Have two teams play, and and just do that.
My bad, Mike. They did have the fantasy draft on Friday. I missed that.
Oh,
here's the ratings, though.
Guys, let's take a break for a second here, because the NHL players may have mailed this in, but some people who will not mail in their big game are coming up soon, and that would be the Puppy Bowl. And we're joined today by Dan Schachner on the line, who's the referee of the Puppy Bowl. And this is, like I said, is going to be the first show of mine that my kids ever watch, because they're going to be They like the puppy bowl way more than they like hockey. So, how you doing, Dan?
Good, guys. I actually have two kids who are right in between. They love puppy bowl and they love hockey. Yesterday was a toss-up. What are they going to do? Go outside or watch the All-Star game? But so far, it's 50-50 in this household. But I can imagine it going one way or the other soon.
Oh yeah, no, I mean here, if I forget to tape a game, that's one thing. If I forget to tape the puppy bowl, because we have to watch it multiple times. So yeah,
it's mesmerizing for children. It really is. It's something hypnotic about the whole thing. Yeah, it's
the greatest thing in the world. And I mean, to be honest, Russ and his wife are huge shelter people, as you know. You've talked to him before, and we are as well here with one shelter dog too. And I just think that this event is just so perfect for what is a crazy commercialized day. Actually, the funny thing is, as I'm talking to you, I'm looking at my Bissell cleaner that I bought last year from Puppy Bowl.
Nice. So we inspired you. I'm glad to hear it.
It's literally right over there. It's so funny.
I guess we have our own commercialism as it is, but I like to think that we don't push it as hard as maybe that other big game does.
Right, and you know what? Your commercials are. I mean, I as a dog owner want to know about that kind of a thing. Like that's something that I'm completely all in on.
They're more informational. I will say that.
Yeah, Dan. Let me just say something. I would rather watch your halftime show than the one that's going to be at the Super Bowl this year.
Thank you. Well, we're both going to have, a pop star. In this case, it's going to be a kitty pop star, but still, it's entertaining, and it's. I know what you mean. The nice thing about our show, and I say this every year, but it really this doesn't have to be a toss up between the Super Bowl and this. You can pregame with us because God knows nobody needs 7 hours of pregame coverage for the Super Bowl, right? I mean, nobody really needs 7 hours of commentary and analysis. So pregame with us, enjoy yourselves. That way, the kids are happy, and whatever non-football fans you have at your football party can enjoy. And then you can turn into the big game after that.
Dan, this is Russ. I think one of the great things you're doing this year that's a little different is you've got some special needs dogs involved, and I think that's really good. I think it's good for kids to see that, hey, even dogs with special needs can still play in this game and not have a problem.
Yeah, thanks, Russ. I know, the cynic in me kind of sometimes thinks, well, are people going to think we're being gimmicky or just trying to highlight them in order to sort of exploit them in a way to kind of, hey, look how we're different this year? It's not because we've run out of ideas. The reality is we have had no trouble. We're so successful that we're at getting the puppies adopted that we've realized there's a whole other group population of dogs that get neglected in shelters, right? Last year it was the senior dogs, and we pushed that. We had like a little Hall of Fame come out, we had the older guys come out. This year it's the special needs dogs, and unfortunately they do. Those are the ones that, 1.2 million dogs do get euthanized, sadly, every year in shelters because they just don't find a home, and the shelters can't house them anymore. A lot of them are special needs dogs. So we're just got these guys out there. We got a 3-legged dog named Lucky, who you wouldn't believe has 3. You think he had 7 legs. Boy, he's running around. He's so fast. We have a hearing impaired dog and a sight impaired dog, and it's just to let people know that, hey, you know what? These guys are as active, as loving, as cuddly, adorable as anybody else.
That is awesome. That is, I mean, it's so good to see something like this happening, and for programming like this, having kids and just having care of animals, it's just so nice in this day and age to be talking about something like this and to know that you guys.
Agreed. The news cycle is very intense these days, whether it's a sports news cycle or whether it's the political news cycle or anything. So to get little puppies and kittens in there for a good cause is a welcome change. Right?
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, so how did you get started on this? Did you start off, refereeing parakeets and things like that and work your way up to the
First I started with goldfish in a bowl, which was really easy, and then I moved my way up to the aviary animals, and then finally to 4-legged creatures. The animal person that just knew me, that I was a host, still am a host for TV. I pop up from time to time. Not so much an actor, but more of a host, presenter kind of guy. And so when this job came up, they just said, well, put yourself on tape. Let's see if you can do it. And I did. It wound up being a good marriage of things for me because I've always loved sports. I used to host a sports trivia show here in New York called Beer Money. And then I loved dogs, always had my whole life. And, of course, loved TV. So it really was this, perfect marriage. I'm probably they're gonna have to rip this job away from me, it's gonna be very hard for me to give it up one day. You
had one very funny tweet, which I could totally relate to because I recently did a career day as well. And you had that picture of you from career day, proof that, you're proving to your neighbors, neighbors' kids and parents that you're not unemployed. I think
you guys definitely understand it. Anybody who hosts shows and kind of can dress casual, and have a non-typical schedule when it comes to kids, always raises eyebrows among teachers and parents. Like, oh, what's that guy's deal? And yeah, so it is nice to show up and create it. Be like, look, guys, I do something for a living, and I'm good at creating because I have giveaways. I give away calendars and toys, so I try to make an impression. It's the one day a year that I actually look cool, right?
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. I've been there before, and I did create last year for like 6 classes all day long. It was so much fun, and I could totally relate to that picture when you put that out there. So how many puppy bowls is this for you now?
Yeah, this is number 6, and so we have 13 total.
Right.
It began as just a one-off little like, hey, here's some counter programming, throw some puppies up on TV and see what happens, and then it grew and grew and grew. But this is number 6 for me. It's bigger and better than ever. It always is. We do always try to top ourselves. And I think the way we try to top ourselves this year, you can only have so many dogs on at a time, right? It becomes a safety issue. But so we're kind of capping it around 80. But what we've got is different animals incorporated into the show. I mean, you have the hamster running on the little wheel that powers the lights. I mean, but that joke has been there for years. Yeah. But we've also got, like, instead of say a human mascot, we've got a chinchilla mascot, we've got an owl mascot, we got rabbit cheerleaders, we have, of course, the tweeting bird. We try to mix it all up and show as many animals as possible.
Oh, that's great.
Dan, I interviewed Jill Rappaport about a week ago. I have it up on the web, and she was a great interview. She's been doing this for a few years now. What can you say about her, what she's added to the program?
What did we add to the program this year?
No, what do you think Jill has added since Jill Rappaport's added since she's been there?
Jill Rappaport, yeah.
Oh, what has she added? I apologize. You cut out for a second. Jill's great because she is, walks the walk, right? She's the true animal advocate. She's got a big house out on Long Island where she can adopt and foster and take care of dogs, and it's nice to see somebody so passionate about it. She continues to advocate constantly for animals, and I'll go to events with Jill, promotional events and stuff, and if she sees a dog that seems to have a need for a home, she's on the phone within minutes, with her network of people finding it a home. She adds that solidity. She's the sideline reporter, but she's much more than that. I mean, she kind of gives us the inside look at the history of these dogs, or I guess I should say their background, where they come from, their stories. So it's a little bit of a more personal side, I guess, to the Puppy Bowl, whereas I'm maybe more about the rules and the game itself and the scorekeeping and which guys are the studs and which guys are the bench warmers. She's more into the, who they are, who they are as animals, as companions.
So the stadium itself, does it actually exist all year long? Is it at the point where it's just a permanent structure now?
No, it does get moved back and forth, or I should say dismantled. But it's a 10 by 20 foot AstroTurf field, which looks a lot smaller in person than you would think. Excuse me, and it does get it gets taken away. We shoot it in October, and we spent a lot of months promoting it, editing it. So during that time, it does stay, I guess, open. Right. And then it kind of goes into hibernation until next October.
Finally, who do I have to pay to get my dog picture on there? Because every year we send a Puppy Bowl picture, and never.
Well, send it directly to me. This is an easy one. You send it directly to me. I'll get you right on that kiss cam. No problem.
Yeah, my kids are like every year. That's the first thing they're going to ask me. I know it. They're like, every year we send a Puppy Bowl picture. I'm like, yeah, there you go. That's really funny.
Dan, what's the theme?
I'll pass it along. No question.
Dan, what's the funny theme for this year? Last year we had Deflategate in football, and what's it going to be this year?
Well, as you know, this year there's really no big. I know with the NFL there's the whole Roger Goodell thing, and I understand that there's a little bit of controversy this year, but for us it's kind of like there's nothing too exciting there that we can. How many different ways? Sure, we can come up with our own version of Tom Brady, call him Tomcat Brady. We can call him, the other guy, Cat Ryan, Julio Bones. We can come up with as many different little puns and things as possible. But I think as far as like riffing on the big game, we don't have too much this year other than the halftime show that riffs on the big game.
Yeah.
What I'm kind of excited about, besides our special needs dogs that we've already talked about, besides Puxatawny Phil, which is, you know, the Groundhog Day Groundhog, who is helping us with the coin toss, is we got a couple of new awards this year. We have an underdog award, and you can imagine with it, sort of like a rookie of the year award kind of thing, for that dog that surprises us all, but Rudy in all of us. And then we've got the Pecco Lombardi trophy. We've always had a trophy that we've given away, sort of an MVP or winner trophy, but this time it's actually sponsored, which is a testament to how big we've grown, and it's called the Lombardi Trophy. So we love our puns. The other, I guess, bigger thing this year that's different is that we've gotten into the social media thing more than you would think. Like, maybe you guys know this, but I was not aware of how many celebrity dogs were on Instagram because I'm so focused on the shelter dogs. Right, I'm so focused on the shelter dogs and the ones that are in need. I don't pay attention literally to the celebrity dogs.
Oh, yeah.
You know, have more followers than I ever will. I have 1 million plus followers. So this year, all these like celebrity Instagram dogs. I'm talking about Chloe the Mini Frenchie, Manny the Frenchie, Toast Meets World, Muppets, Underpants, sometimes Carl. These are all these names that, if you Google them, it's like 3.5 million. You're like, what? They all showed up, and that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of glad to have them all supporting us because, in all honesty, like they do have so many followers that they're able to get the word out about adoption too. So
that's great.
Did you guys? I've been to All-Star games. Did you guys have like a red carpet walk-in type thing?
You know, we should. But the best thing that we have right now, first of all, I think Puppy Bowl should be year long. I think we should have a combine, a draft day, a scouting week, right? And definitely an all-star game in addition to the game itself. I mean, why not have a lead up to the championship? Why not have playoffs?
Yeah. You need an outdoor game.
So we don't so much have that, the red carpet as we do, you just call it a starting lineup. It's, you know, they run down the tunnel and they get their moment in the sun and the spotlight. Yeah. That's the best we can do. But we're always trying to, you know, add that on year after year.
Next year, get the famous dogs to come in, like walking. Like they're here to see the game on the red carpet. That'd be hilarious. I think that's just it's such a wonderful thing. And of course, it's great for charity. It's on the internet. We put your Twitter account up so that everybody can follow you, and they should follow you. That would be phenomenal. And we can't wait. We can't wait to see it. I can tell you, thank you so much for coming on and all that you guys do for this because it's so important. And
thank you guys, and know that in this family we are a hockey family as well. I mean, we're a football family because of dogs, but when it comes to human sports, it's hockey, baseball, and then human football is a distant third.
I want to let people know the pregame show starts at 2:00 on February 5th. So.
Yes, sir. 2:00 and the big game at 3. So we hope everybody tunes in and has a great Super Bowl weekend.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dan.
Talk to you soon, guys. Thank you so much, Dan. That was Dan Schackner, who really nice of him to show up today and come on the show to help support and everything he does. I mean, I can't tell you enough like how popular I'm going to be now in my family and you guys and how this is like really such an amazing event.
No, it is, and that's why I cover it every year. But I'll tell you, people have told me Kaya should have her own account, my Great Pyrenees, and I don't want to. I don't want her to have more followers than me, so I won't do it.
I think my old dog Bert the dog still has more followers than either of you guys. No, but I remember Bert used to do like all kinds of great predictions and stuff like that, and at one point had a 1 million view video and everything, just crazy.
Wow.
So you know that was I have not been able to get either of my two dogs now to follow in the footsteps. I've tried. They're just unable. They're just terrible predicting games, kind of like me. You know,
Buzz just does not seem interested in anything.
not unless it's got a stake attached to it. No. Buzz
all right. So getting back to the All-Star game.
Get back to hockey for a second.
I didn't realize they had the draft. To be honest, I don't think they did a good job of promoting the fantasy draft because I didn't even watch it. But here are the ratings, and the ratings are what matters. So NBCSN in the U.S., they had 1.194 viewers for the actual game, a 14% drop from 2012. Skills competition, 895,000 viewers, down 15% from 2012. Mm-hmm. Fantasy draft, down 310,000 viewers, down 24%. So I think that backs what I said, that they didn't really promote it very well. Down 24% from 2012.
I want to throw something out there.
Hold on, wait. There is some positive.
Then I'll explain some things.
the All-Star Game was the most watched NHL game on NBCSN since the Stanley Cup Final. So
Okay.
you have that.
That's not. I mean, so here's the thing with ratings, okay? Because, and especially if you go back even more than a year, ratings have changed drastically.
Sure.
In general, I mean, there are television shows like The Big Bang Theory is down 20%, and it's still one of those popular shows. The fact of the matter is that with Netflix and everything else, people just watch other things all the time, and they watch things when they want to. So, like, there are people who are going to watch.
Ratings were down in Canada too. Like,
Yeah.
I gave you the U.S. numbers. The Canadian numbers are down too. We could all DVR what we want to watch. It's not like we have.
Yeah, but the DVRs, that doesn't necessarily count in the ratings the way it works, you know. So it's like you might watch it. The ratings are generally based on live watches, you know, what's happening at the time, and it's a Sunday afternoon, you know. It's like it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday, so it's
well, that's for the game. The other stuff was Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, and you know, and I think that. I mean, it's the kind of thing that like most hockey fans are going to at least gaze at, are going to at least tape it and watch some of it at some point, and that's a lot of people. So I just think that at the end of the day, it's really hard to blame ratings. Everything right now, if you're in the entertainment industry, and I know this for a fact, you know, just from what we do, there are so many more options. It's so much harder to keep your ratings up where it was.
If you could get $1 for every time somebody who DVR'd hit the fast forward button, then you'd be getting some revenue out of this. But
of course, yeah. No, I mean, that's what I did, and you know.
One thing that, you know, and this was the second year of 3-on-3. This was the year after the John Scott situation, and honestly, the view. I thought that some of the excitement last year was derived from the 3-on-3, but when you compare last year and this year, it was more the John Scott thing than it was the 3-on-3, because now when you have the 3-on-3 there and you have compelling guys, you know, like McDavid and Matthews and Laine, young players.
You had Wayne Gretzky coaching.
Yeah, it still lacked something.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
There's a couple things that are wrong with this format, okay? And this is what I'll throw out there, okay? A couple things. One is the concept of that you want to root for other people in your own division. That is an issue, I think, that plays into it. I really have talked to people who just like, and that even live with Nashville last year, it was odd because they were on they're on a team with Red Wing players, and there's this weird dynamic that this is your home team, but at the same time, would you rather a Red Wing, you know, win the MVP? The John Scott thing last year was overblown totally. If you were there at the event, it really was a small. I think on television they made a much bigger deal of it. If you were there at the event, it was like, oh yeah, right, John Scott. You know, it wasn't anything that you would focus on all the time. And you know, there's the other thing about this format is, like you've said, the 3-on-3 aspect of it. We have learned in the NHL there's a way to play 3-on-3 now, right? And that last year it was still early in the season. Remember, we were still early on in 3-on-3s.
It was exciting last year.
It was exciting, and now we know how to play 3-on-3, which is basically, if you've ever watched like lacrosse or box lacrosse played, that's how where a player will just wait while the lines change. That's what happens, right? So that's what you see all the time. I don't disagree that 3-on-3 may have been played out. I mean, my opinion, what I would have done, and I said this before, to make this something special, is you almost have to change it every year just to kind of give like a uniqueness to it. And this year, I think it would have been really great after what we saw at the World Cup hockey to bring the U23 team back, and play, bring a team like North America back and play them against. So have like maybe even push it up to like 24, and then have just under 24 versus over 24 and all.
I think that's fine. I think do that next year. Do it outside. One game.
Do it next year. I think because there is something about young players versus old players that is intrinsically that they're going to play. They're not going to not play. And it's like, because the young players aren't going to sit back and so the old players then have to step it up. That I think is the next way to go with this. And that, because watching that team, like I said, I just can't say enough how incredible it was to watch that team live. And I'm sure
I watched Connor McDavid skate fast, but I didn't watch him skate fast with the puck. And to me, that's all that matters.
And Connor McDavid's line mates were also like very disappointing, and that's the thing about the Pacific Division, to a degree. It's a different kind of division. Connor McDavid really feels like he should more be in the Central Division when you look at the kind of players on the Central Division team. The Pacific Division, I mean, he was playing with Brent Burns and who else? Like Horvat at times?
Yeah, Horvat was with him, I think.
I mean, it's like, that's not, he plays with better players on the Oilers, like, I mean, I'm not saying anything against Brent Burns. Obviously, he's a great player, but the lines were odd, and he was, he was playing, actually a lot of times I think he was playing with Kessler. So I think it was Kessler and Brent Burns. But
Which Kessler was it? Was his son or the dad?
The actual the senior, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The couple moments that I liked. Okay, let me throw a couple moments out that I liked. I really, the more I watch him away from like just in general, the more I like Holtby. Like I just think,
he's a great guy. I agree.
He's a great guy. He comes off great in these things. He is just so he's an incredible goalie. I mean, he might be the best goalie in the NHL, really. I mean, you can.
I won't say that. I can't say that.
I mean, you know, if you take Carey Price away, is he the best goalie in the NHL? He might be.
No, I think Devin Dubnyk now. I think he's top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I put him up against Dubnyk. I would. But
yeah, I mean, I think it's close.
Yeah, and I think that, he's more consistent than Dubnyk. So, but I think, and Dubnyk has the ability to maybe be better at times. But Holtby is just, he's all that's right with hockey. Like he did some fun things during the game. He was laughing during the game. He was having fun with it. I mean, a couple times.
He's very chatty for a goalie. Like if you interview him, he doesn't sort of pull back, and I like that. I like that about him.
And Mike Smith's the same way. He's another really great guy, and he is, and him scoring that goal in the skills thing, that was fun. I mean, that was just a fun thing, the way that went, the way that played out. That was like the memorable moments on this thing, that you saw.
Well, Mike Smith came out with a comment that I think will change how we cover a trading deadline, and that is basically he's happy where he is, and he's never entertained the notion of lifting his no trade. So Mike Smith is staying in Arizona.
Yeah. Maybe. I mean, you could.
I think that's the factor that you talked about too. People like living there. He seems to enjoy
living there. No question about it. I agree with that. They do, and I think that you're right about the. But I think at these kind of events, it's hard. Like what players are going to.
You didn't have to say it. He could have said nothing.
I guess not. I don't know. I think he kind of had to say it. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
The one thing that didn't happen on the ice, or that I think was the center of the talk, was the lack of revelation from Gary Bettman about the Olympics, and it's getting to the point now. We thought that the deadline was going to be the All-Star break, and now there is no deadline. And you listen to people like John Shannon, who's pretty tied in inside guy, and he's basically saying he doesn't think that the NHL is going. And the cacophony of responses now coming out, or they don't think that they're going. It's like, you know what? Then just get it over with and say.
That's what I wish they would do. Stop.
I wish they would do that too, because of USA Hockey and Canada Hockey. They need them to do that. They need to be able to figure this out. I mean, there's planning that goes into this. If they don't.
Oh no, absolutely. But the blame game's got to stop. Look. We could break it down into two separate things. We know the players want to go. We know the NHL isn't making any money, and if it costs the NHL $1, they're not sending their guys.
And I think beyond that, though, I do think that I don't want to sit back and say that this has been that they were never going, like some people are saying. I
never thought that they were going. I thought there was a little bit of a chance when Vassell said, "Let's talk" last time, but that's it. That's
I think it's easy for us to say that they were never going, but I honestly don't. I honestly have talked to people about this the entire time, and there have been moments when they were leaning towards going, and moments when we're leaning towards not going. It really has gone back and forth, and I honestly will say this: that I think that the events in the world right now are not helping this, because when this has to be announced right now, right? Basically, they have to go into a decision, and right now, the idea of going to South Korea. If you with millionaire hockey players, is not the greatest thought in the world for these owners. I think that with all that's said and done, this is the why would you risk that, right? I mean, maybe
you're risking in the Olympics regardless.
Right.
I think this was a leverage play by the NHL. They were trying to get concessions from the IOC. The IOC is a corrupt organization who's interested in the bottom dollar, and that's all they've ever been interested in. And they're not going to bend over to get the NHL to come to South Korea. Now, maybe after 4 years, and they realize that the hockey tournament will be a crap show without the NHL there, maybe that will get them to open up their pocketbooks a little bit. But I think the NHL is justified. They're risking their talent, their players.
And shutting down their league.
Yeah, they're shutting down their league.
If this was someplace else, maybe. I think China's still a possibility 4 years from now. But I think that right now, I mean, can you think of, I mean, it's just, we don't know where things are going to be a year from now or a week from now for that matter. But right now, if you have to make the decision right now and you're sitting at the All-Star game talking, Bettman can't be there's no way he can sit there and say that they're going to go. There's no way. And
I think the other thing too, and definitely not all the fault is placed on Gary Bettman, because
Oh no.
He basically laid it out. Hey, if they cover expenses, then I think they could get us back. All Rene Fassel had to do was come out in the press today and say we're covering expenses, but it just didn't happen.
And here's the thing. The other thing about Bettman too, as powerful as he is, it really is. He is as powerful as and as good as he is at what he does because he does literally just do what he is told to do and stick by that. Like he is the representative of the owners, and and so he is what he's saying. You might think that I think deep down Bettman really likes the NHL at the Olympics. I do. I think that's his. I think he really thinks that's a good idea. But the owners, he's not going to change that. Like
it's really hard to sell it to the owners. I get it.
It is. It's incredibly hard to sell the owners, and Bettman has sold the owners on skipping a year of the season. I mean, this is very, very hard. And I think with what's going on right now, I think people are just it's done. I think and it's. But you're right. They need to come out and say it so that they can. Prepare.
That's all I'm asking for. Just come out and say because now. When is this drop dead date? When do we think it is?
I don't know. I mean, it's
gonna have to be before the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, no, it's got to be. It's got to be soon, and it might be the kind of thing where the NHL just didn't want to announce that over the Olympic weekend because it might be the kind of thing where they're going to wait a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm. There was some speculation that they would wait until like around President's Day because that's 1 year out from the next Olympics because it'll start the middle of February.
If I was if I was them, I would do it. I would do it a couple days before the trade deadline, to be honest, because that's when you can bury this the best. Like because
maybe the Stadium Series game.
Right. The NHL news, yeah, that's a good time for it. The NHL news is what it is, and you really have to, you can bury something around the trade deadline, and it's been done before. So you want to bury this, like the old thing you used to put out news on a Friday at 5:00, right?
Take out the trash.
Right. That's.
But I was getting all kinds of questions yesterday. What's NBC going to do about announcers? They'll have announcers. Mike Emmerich will do NHL games, I guarantee it. What are they going to do about players? Like I said, I think players that are free agents, players that are retired, players that haven't been drafted yet, they'll all be in this pool. AHL and ECHL, that's up to those commissioners because I think they're going to follow what the NHL does, and I don't think they're going to be able to send their players. But we'll see.
Yeah, there was some commentary about what will the NHL do? Will they program against the Olympics? Well, they did in the 90s until
right, of course they will.
Until Nagano. I mean, I don't know who it was that I was listening to a broadcast. They said the game of the night of the USSR Lake Placid game. There were 7 games on the NHL schedule, so they scheduled against the Olympics. You'll have your fans go to NHL games, and they'll DVR Canada versus the US.
Right.
I want to briefly get into the question that I put out there to everybody, and then the response to it is: will McDavid and or Matthews eventually be better than Sidney Crosby? And I put it out so far, and 47% of the people out there say McDavid will be better than Crosby, and eventually, and it's he's already the leading scorer in the league. He's only his second year in. You can make that argument that he would be.
He's not going to be better than Sidney Crosby.
No. Okay, you both. Why?
Now he might play longer. He might compile better numbers because Crosby's had his problems. But if you look at just the raw data from his scoring, McDavid's nowhere near Crosby. Nowhere near him. Not in any season.
Right.
And the thing I'm concerned about, because
early on, I mean, as a rookie, and as a second year player, you're looking at that raw data. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the raw data from Crosby's second year.
We know that McDavid is a phenomenal talent. The thing I'm concerned about, because he's not exactly a beefy, durable player. I mean, he's so reliant on his phenomenal speed. Is what happens when he loses a step, and I think that will be a concern. I mean, Crosby, you can say has maybe lost a step from when he was 18 or 19 years old, and he's still one of the best players in the league right now.
Here's what we got. Crosby in his rookie year had 102 points. Rookie year, 18 years old. Crosby in his second year had 120 points. Right.
Well, no, I mean, but he hasn't gotten close to that since then. Right.
Actually, he's got 55 and 42 games this year. He's got 28 goals in 42 games. He's leading the league in goals. Connor McDavid is in the league.
Yeah. No, I know, and I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
No, I mean, well, the votes so far, almost 6,000 people voted on Hockey Buzz. So you have 42% saying he'll be better, and 37% thinks Crosby will go down as better than both of them, which is what you guys are saying. 10% are saying that both will be better than Crosby, and 9% are saying that Matthews will be better than Crosby. So, it's one of those things we won't know for years and years and years. But I agree. I can see your point. I can definitely see your point. I'm just not. It's hard for me to imagine it necessarily, because I think that both have actually the ability to be better than Crosby, I think. So it's tough to say. I mean, Crosby, now, that being said, come on now. I'm not ripping on Crosby, but he's also been in some pretty good situations, on pretty good teams. I mean, he is the current captain of, someone pointed this out to me, of the Olympic, World Cup, Stanley Cup, and All-Star winning teams, right? For what it's worth.
Okay, but here's the thing. So Crosby's at 100 points 5 times in his first,
11 years.
11 years. Let's see McDavid rack up 3 or 4 100-point seasons. Then maybe he'll change my tune.
Yeah. I mean, time will tell, right? Time will tell for sure. Okay, let's get into some rumors then, because we can talk rumors here a little bit. That's something we do. All right. So I'm going to bring up the latest thing for me that I've really been tracking hardest is Matt Duchene.
Oh, wait. Can I say one thing real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's important. So for tonight's top prospects game that
oh, right. Yes.
Everybody be watching in Quebec City, there will be a moment of silence for the shooting at the mosque. I think that's really good of the CHL to do that. We're not political. I just wanted to say that. I think that's really important, and thank you for bringing it up. Yep.
And really, our thoughts and prayers are with everybody involved in that. We have a lot of great fans of ours in Quebec, and we really appreciate that. So I've gotten a lot of letters already. So thank you. And let's put our prayers out to them for sure.
Yep.
On to the much less significant rumor world. But like Matt Duchene is the one I've been tracking for sure, for the most today. And my buyer seller thing comes out tomorrow. So what's interesting to me about this is 2 teams that were basically considered sellers are the 2 teams that right now I'm putting on top of the list for Matt Duchene, and that would be the Sabres and the Islanders. From talking to people around the All-Star weekend, there's a lot of talk that went on. There's a lot of stuff that gets discussed, and I think you'll see some interesting things go down this week, especially with Montreal, who's expecting a lot of players back from injury. But depending on how that works out, and depending on whether or not those players really come back, Montreal could very easily get involved in Duchene, and they might want to move one of those players to come back from injuries too. So there's stuff going on there. But I think Sabres, and right now I have the Sabres and the Islanders at the top of that list.
Well, 2 reports came out this week about, and the following up on what you were talking about, Eck, in one of your columns last week about the price that's being asked for Duchene.
Yeah.
And they sort of echoed what the person that you talked to, who said they were bat bleep crazy.
Yeah.
Because the price, but the thing is, this is the price that normally teams ask for a top 6 forward or a top 4 defenseman. They're expecting the young NHL player, the prospect, and the first round pick, and that's apparently what Colorado is looking for Duchene. And I think that a contending team, if it's a contending team, they can't do that, because the top young player is probably going to be a defenseman. At least that's what Colorado would want. And, a contending team does not want to give up their defensive depth during the season. There's a better chance that a team that's on the outside looking in, like the Sabres, like the Islanders, could do that type of deal. Yeah. But I keep going back to the thing that this smacks more of a summer deal than it does a deadline deal.
I mean, I look at Duchene, and he's got the speed. He's a young centerman. He has 406 points in 536 games. If we want to use the argument he hasn't had the best of circumstances and the best of line mates all the time, that's fine. But he's scored double-digit goals in every year of his career so far. And this year, he looks like he'll hit over 20, maybe get close to 30 again like he had last year. That's going to gain a lot in this league. It's hard to get guys like that.
Yeah. No, he's really, and a lot of people do write his situation off as the fact that they've moved him around a lot. It's not that he hasn't had bad line mates, but he just hasn't had consistent line mates. And there's a lot of people who've said that. And there are a lot of people who obviously look at Team Canada. There are people who believe in him out there, like he's a part of these groups whenever they're put together. He's always involved in the discussion for Team Canada. which is impressive. I mean, that's something that that resonates with people for sure. And what's interesting is I did agree with you, Mike, and logically, and what we've seen in the past ways this would work is it would go off as a summer trade deadline deal. I mean, a summer draft deal. But Montreal, but what it really feels as if there are people around the Islanders and, believe it or not, the Sabres organization that are looking at this like the coup that could put them in, right? And they're looking at this like, okay, if we can do it now, we don't have to wait another year to get into the playoffs. And if we can get into the playoffs now, then that's something, for the Islanders, it's a matter of staying in the playoffs and not going backwards. For the Sabres, it's a matter of accelerating progress, right?
The Islanders would be a fit for what Colorado is looking for, because they have those young defensive pieces like Pulock, like Pelech, like Hamonic is not old, but he's injured right now. So, but they have enough depth on defense that they could do that type of deal. I just don't know about the Sabres, because the Avalanche and the Sabres, to my mind, are on the same page. They're both deep in forwards and they have no defense, and they're both looking for the same thing. There's some interesting speculation about Montreal, and I think you mentioned a while back about Montreal being interested in Duchesne. Yeah,
they're my third team on the list.
Yeah, and the thing is that trade that they made for Nikita Nesterov last week with Tampa, there is some talk in Montreal that the addition of Nesterov was to make Nathan Beaulieu available in a deal to trade for a top 6 forward. And if that's the case,
possible.
It would take. I think it would take more than just Beaulieu and a first-round pick to get Duchesne. I think it would take another really good prospect. But they have prospects. They have a pretty, some pretty decent young players. So that's a possibility, and that would be a piece that Montreal, I think, is desperate to add.
Yeah, as much as we talk about how much teams want, they usually get it. Like it's kind of odd as it usually in these things. I mean, the one situation that always stands out to me of a asking price that didn't come close was the Rick Nash deal.
Right.
And that because we knew exactly what Columbus wanted for Rick Nash. It was
right.
It was always talked about, and then when the deal went down, everybody's like, whoa! But then when the end of the day, that was a pretty damn good deal for Columbus.
It was. Here's the funny thing about Below. They right now at 44 games, he's got the same numbers offensively as last year, 19 points. This is a guy who doesn't get any power play time, but could play the power play. Like these are just even strength points. This is a guy who you put him on the right team could be a really good number 3 defenseman.
Yep. And he's 22, 23 years old.
24 years old.
24 years old.
I mean, what we have to depend on in Colorado is something that I don't think we've seen enough of in Colorado, which is their ability to look forward like that. There hasn't been enough forward-thinking stuff. That's why Colorado is where they are right now. They've been more of an immediate team with everything they've done. And I think that we need to see that their scouts and everything like that are seeing the same things you're seeing, the rest, because it makes sense. But that's requiring a little bit more of a rebuild than that team wants to make, which for where they are, I mean, it's hard to not say you need to rebuild. I mean, it's hard, but they are not saying they're rebuilding. They are not. They don't. I mean, I've not heard that from anybody I've talked to around the organization. They feel like they've just got the wrong chemistry, the wrong balance. But they feel
actually, Below has 10 points on the power play, so he is starting to get power play time. So there you go.
Now, Mike Harrington in the Buffalo News on Sunday reported that the Sabres and the LA Kings have been scouting each other rather heavily and consistently over the last, 3 weeks to a month, I guess. There's some speculation that because LA is, I think, 23rd in the NHL in scoring, they've always had trouble scoring, that Evander Kane could be a target for the Kings. What I'd like to know is where the hell the Kings are getting the cap room, because he's making $5.25 million, and I think there'd have to be some, some major work.
I asked somebody very specifically about this last, I want to say Thursday or Friday, about this whole thing in LA. Somebody I really trust, and they said that it was not Evander Kane they were scouting, and
I believe that. I don't think he's their kind of guy.
No, and that for some reason people just tie in Evander Kane because it's glitz and all this stuff and the way the glitzy, lifestyle and all that with LA. But that's not the kind of player that Sutter wants anything to do with. So
I agree with that. And I also think, not to use this as an example, but like the Mike Richards situation, I don't think they're looking to get into that again.
Yeah. I mean,
Kane has different problems, but you never know.
I'm just looking at the scoring aspect here and the fact that
and where else are they going to get scoring out of Buffalo? I mean, that's like when you talk about scouting, you're right. I mean, that is the player that you think, okay, he's got the potential to do it.
Well, this is the thing that LA's got to be concerned about is the fact that you've got Toffoli and Tanner Pearson coming up for RFA, and they have no room. They have no room in the salary cap. So is this going to be a Brandon Saad situation where they're going to be forced to trade one of them in the summer because they can't afford to re-sign them? I mean, is that, do they move one of those guys? I mean, the thing is that Toffoli and Pearson are two of the guys who can score on the team. So that would be sort of going counter purposes.
Well, let's be real here too, Mike. You see more Sabres game than us. Kane has 14 goals. How many of those would you attribute to his line mate?
Probably half of them.
I mean, scouts know that too. I mean,
he's unquestionably talented, right? I mean, like it's like scouting Evander Kane is almost pointless because you know Evander Kane.
Well, it's the other things that you worry about him showing practice, yada yada yada.
It's the homework that you need. It's like watching him on the ice.
You have to put him with Jack Eichel type talent to get production.
But it is a short-term risk. He's got one more year on his contract. This might be preferable for LA to do something like this than going out and signing TJ Oshie for 6 years because that's what you're going to get in free agency. I don't think they can do that because unless Marian Gaborik is retiring or something like that happens where they open up cap space or they trade one of the defensemen that they have who's making who I think are undervalued making $4 million, Muzzin and Martinez. Yeah. I mean, where are you going to get the cap room to sign these guys? That's what I'm wondering.
Here's the funny thing. When Kane said last year he would score 50, right? And I laughed. I laughed because I think that's where he believes he can do. Yeah. But the thought of Evander Kane has always been better than Evander Kane. He's got 109 career goals in 6 years. That is the cold, hard facts about Evander Kane.
Right. And you have to score 30 before you score 50.
He's had 30 once.
He's at 31. So, show me again. If he came out and said I can score 30 again, that would have been something to say.
Yes.
But if you're only scoring 10 or 8 a year, and you come out and say you're going to score 50, that's.
I mean, after a bad start, this year, he does have 14 goals and I think 32 games. So, he's on
37 games.
Yeah, he's on a 30-goal pace, and I mean, he can do that. He can put 30 goals up. I've heard more about Jacob Trouba to the Maple Leafs in the last couple days, as well as accelerating there. And I've heard discussions about Van Riemsdyk possibly being involved in that. I don't buy into it. So I don't have Van Riemsdyk yet. I'm not really reporting it as rumor, but I've just heard things about that. I think Trouba this I do believe to be a summer deal, but I think that when it all comes down to, at least with Toronto, not saying Trouba couldn't be moved earlier to another team, but
we know how rare the three-way deal is in the NHL. But if there's a deal involving Trouba and Van Riemsdyk, I would think there would have to be a third team here because Van Riemsdyk to Winnipeg makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, no, it just
on face value it doesn't.
Yeah,
one team I think could snap up Trouba at the deadline would be the Washington Capitals, from what I've been told. Yeah. And that's the team that I think could actually make the move now. Now, whether or not that would happen, whether they'd have to put a lot into that deal, they'd have to make a lot, because Winnipeg wants a lot, obviously. But that's a possibility. I think that of all the teams out there, that's the one I would look to.
I wrote about this yesterday in my Leaf column, and this is the interesting thing about Washington. I mean, we all know that not to say this is the last year that they'll be a contender, but they have some decisions for their roster. Kuznetsov is an RFA; he's going to expect big money. Oshie and Justin Williams are UFAs. So is Carl Alsner. They have three defensemen. Their three best defensemen: Orlov, Carlson, and Alsner. Alsner's a UFA this year. Orlov is an RFA this year, and Carlson's a UFA after next year. They can probably only afford to sign two of those guys. There's probably no way they can sign all three because all three of them are going to probably expect to get over $5 million. If you're paying Matt Niskanen and Brooks Orpik $5 million, you're probably going to have to pay each of those guys $5 million, and you cannot have $5 million a year defensemen on your team. So does that mean
Barry Trotz doesn't like one of them a lot more than the other two? I mean that Orlov is the guy that would move out of there, that they would move.
Right, and see, I think that's a possibility. possibility for the Maple Leafs because Orlov is a skating defenseman. He played with Nikita Zaitsev internationally in the World Championships, I believe, and in the World Cup of Hockey. So that might be a target for the Maple Leafs in terms of – because another factor here is Washington might not be able to protect all of them. They can't – they have
Right.
if they expose Orpik, then they can protect Orlov, but maybe they don't like Orlov enough to protect him. And if they don't protect him, then George McPhee will gobble him up in about 2 seconds.
This is true. Cody Franzen, I really think this seems very strong. There seems to be a very strong possibility that he's going to end up in Edmonton. From talking to people that that they're going to go that way. I don't know. Doesn't make sense. Russ, shaking your head.
No, yeah.
I'm not saying it doesn't make sense if he goes to Edmonton. I'm just saying it doesn't make sense to give up that many assets for Cody Franzen. When does he really?
I don't think you're going to.
Peter Chiarelli must have misunderstood when people said you need a top 4 defenseman. He's intent on getting 6 number 4 defensemen. Because that's what Cody Franzen is. At best, he's a number 4. He probably is better as a bottom pairing guy who can play on your power play. If they give up anything more than a 3rd round pick, they're insane.
Well, the issue is the Oilers are a good team, but they're in a tough division for them to get out of the playoffs on. This is not for them specifically. They don't play well against specific division teams, and so they're in a weird spot there where they have to either finish first, where they might get a chance of not facing one of the teams that they don't play well against, or or get more depth defensively that they're going to need in those situations, because
at least Franzen has playoff experience, so there's something to be said there.
Yeah.
He's got 15 points, but he won't be playing that kind of role anymore. Like, you're not going to give that much ice time to Cody Franzen so he can get more points in the playoffs. That's the thing.
You would give him power play time, Russ.
A little bit.
Even though he's not a great skating defenseman,
he's not going to be top power play.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
he has some experience, and they need experience. I mean,
he's got a good shot from the point. He was very effective with the Leafs. Something less so with the Sabres because Ristolainen is basically the quarterback, and I don't know what the Edmonton configuration of their power play is. If they only have one defenseman and they go 1-3-1, then probably it won't be him. But he can shoot away from the point. He would be effective.
Yeah, and they desperately need experience. I mean, this is a team that can make the playoffs, and there's hardly anyone on that team with playoff experience. And they, that might mean they could be fine, but usually that means that you're not going to be okay. That you're going to have to go through a rough playoff year or two. And
but trading Franzen would be tantamount to Buffalo saying we're selling.
Right. No, it is tantamount.
That's true.
Although it sounds like they are going to trade him. I mean, it sounds like I really, and maybe they just feel like they have something else there that they can fill the gap with, or somebody ready to go. But
I still think the bigger issue for Edmonton is December 1st, Darnell Nurse had the ankle surgery, and they said the projection was 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's enormous, obviously. I mean,
that's going to be pushing it.
Yeah, he's going to be pushing it, and I think he is one of their most important players on their team.
Yeah.
Beyond just the important defenseman.
So to me, that's like you can make a trade, and it might not matter.
You're talking mid to late March at best for him coming back.
Yeah, and then how that's such a
how effective will he be?
Yeah, it's a tough injury to come back from at full speed with stepping into the playoffs against some teams that are going to be, I mean, if you hit San Jose or Anaheim, you're playing some tough physical teams in there that could really, and LA, of course, as well. Tough physical stuff that you're going to have.
That's why it's a tough decision. It's hard to, and maybe that's why Franzen is a good solution if you don't have to give up much, because you may not get Nurse back either.
Yeah, it takes the pressure off of having to rush him back at least.
Yes,
be good. Because maybe you can hold off and say, okay, he's back for the playoffs, or you don't have to bring him back in the middle of March and get him back in shape.
Yeah, you might have to play a couple games before the end of the season.
Yeah, right, something like that.
That's true. That's fair.
Well, we'll discuss more of this tomorrow for sure. We definitely want to thank Dan from the Puppy Bowl and everybody involved with the Puppy Bowl for helping out today, and really remember to watch that on Animal Planet, right? Correct, Animal Planet.
Yes, Animal Planet.
At 2:00 on Super Bowl Sunday, which is
that's the tailgating show at 3:00 for the big game.
Yep. Yep, and it's just a blast. If you have kids, they'll love it, and if you don't have kids, you'll love it.
We always DVR it. It's great fun. You don't have to watch the whole game, but you'll find some very endearing, funny moments.
I'll have my.
Yeah, no, it's really a fun thing just to watch before the Super Bowl. I just think it's really like when you're sitting around, like because you cannot watch the Super Bowl pregame.
No, I'll be honest. I am a sports junkie. I turn the Super Bowl on a half an hour before it starts.
If it wasn't for a tradition that I get together with my friends and we order a sheet pizza and some wings and get together and watch it.
What kind of pizza, Mike? It sounded like you were talking about a bad pizza.
Sheet.
Oh, okay.
That would be called we would call that what would you call that down here? That's not, we don't have sheet pizzas down here. We have
Sicilian
pizza. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So
in Pennsylvania, we don't even have that. We have the tomato pie in Pennsylvania, which is totally different.
That's true.
And unless the halftime performers are compelling, we watch hockey fights.
There you go.
What's the halftime show besides Lady Gaga?
I think it's just her. Which honestly, I'm change the channel. Let's watch Rob Ray beat the crap out of Ty Domi.
Hit the
what it's worth. Springsteen was the last good halftime thing they had at the Super Bowl.
McCartney was the last good one.
Yeah, okay, maybe. Yeah.
I would say either one of them were good. The funny thing is, I like U2, but once Bono was running laps and he was out of breath, that hurt him.
That's not good.
Remember that?
That's never good. That's never good. I mean, it's hard to stay cool when you're gasping for air.
And sorry, everybody was watching The Left Shark. I was watching Katy Perry.
My wife was the left shark for Halloween. We have that costume. That's what she was for Halloween.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic. All right, remember, guys, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow. Games aren't back tomorrow. Tomorrow games start again. We'll talk about that. See you then.
And the top 100.
That's right, top 100 tomorrow. Shea Weber should be on there.